The explosion lit up the Mojave night like a second sun, leaving a trail of violet fire streaking across the star-speckled sky. Dr. Sarah Chen gripped her steering wheel tighter as her Jeep bounced over the desert terrain, following the coordinates transmitted by the Air Force. Behind her, a convoy of military vehicles kicked up dust clouds in the cold desert air. 15 minutes to impact site, crackled her radio. Sarah checked her equipment one last time. Specialized scanning tools she'd developed for the MIT Reverse Engineering Lab, prototype sensors, and the tablet containing her life's work on unknown material analysis. None of it had been designed for alien technology, but it would have to do. The impact crater stretched nearly half a mile wide, its edges still glowing with an unnatural blue-white light. The crashed vessel didn't match any of humanity's theories about alien ships. No sleek lines or organic curves. Instead, it looked mass-produced, with standardized panels and modular components that reminded Sarah of shipping containers. "Radiation levels normal," announced a technician as Sarah approached the wreck. "Air quality stable. No biological contaminants detected." Sarah placed her hand on the hull, surprised by its texture. The metal felt wrong. Too uniform, too perfect. Her instruments confirmed her suspicion. The entire outer shell was composed of identical atoms arranged in a crystalline pattern that shouldn't have been possible outside of theoretical physics papers. "Dr. Chen," called one of the military scientists, "we've found a way in." The ship's interior defied explanation. Every component, from the smallest circuit to the largest engine part, appeared to be sealed in transparent casings. When Sarah attempted to scan the nearest console, her instruments returned error messages. The technology wasn't just advanced, it actively resisted analysis. "There are bodies," someone reported from deeper within the ship. Sarah followed the voice to what appeared to be the bridge. 3 alien forms lay slumped over their stations. They were humanoid, but their skin had a metallic sheen that made them look almost artificial. Sarah approached one of the bodies, her scanner extended. The cause of death wasn't immediately apparent. No signs of trauma from the crash, no evidence of violence. Then she noticed the faint scorch marks around their neural implants. "They were executed," she whispered, the realization hitting her, "by their own equipment." The ship's systems had killed its crew, rather than risk them surviving to reveal its secrets. Sarah's hands trembled as she processed the implications. What kind of civilization would build fail-safes to protect their technology at the cost of their own people's lives? A soft humming drew her attention to a still active console. The display showed what appeared to be a diagnostic routine, but every time she tried to interact with it, the system locked down further. Standard penetration tools bounced off its defenses. Direct hardware connections were rejected. Even attempting to measure its power consumption triggered security protocols. Sarah sat back, frustrated but intrigued. The technology was generations ahead of anything humanity had developed, yet it felt strangely limited. The security mechanisms were comprehensive but predictable. There was no adaptation, no learning, just rigid protocols executing exactly as programmed. "Ma'am," a soldier interrupted her thoughts. "We're picking up unusual energy readings from orbit, multiple objects on approach." Sarah looked up through the breach in the ship's hull at the night sky. New stars were appearing, moving in perfect geometric formations. The alien vessel hadn't crashed by accident. It was an advanced scout. And now the main force had arrived. She grabbed her tablet and began documenting everything she could. The next few hours would change human history forever, but something told her the real discovery wasn't the aliens' advanced technology. It was why they'd made it so impossible to modify or improve. She had a feeling humanity was about to learn just how dangerous innovation could be in a galaxy that feared change. The consortium's first demonstration took place in Times Square, broadcast simultaneously across every screen and device on Earth. Sarah watched from MIT's Emergency Response Center as impossibly pristine ships descended from the clouds, each an exact duplicate of the others. They moved with mechanical precision, forming perfect geometric patterns that seemed designed to showcase their technological superiority. "We bring order to chaos," announced the consortium ambassador, his metallic-sheened face appearing on every display. "We offer humanity the gift of standardization." Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard, analyzing the live feed. The ship's energy signatures matched the crashed vessels exactly, down to the quantum level. It wasn't just similar technology. It was identical, as if stamped from the same cosmic assembly line. "Look at their formation," she muttered to her colleague, Dr. James Rodriguez. "No variation in speed or spacing. No adaptation to wind conditions. Even their power fluctuations are synchronized." The ambassador continued his rehearsed speech, showcasing their achievements. A small drone floated forward, generating a gravity-free sphere where debris danced in complex patterns. Another device created a shimmering energy shield that deflected everything thrown at it. A third opened what appeared to be a small wormhole, transmitting matter instantly across the stage. But Sarah noticed something the cheering crowds missed. Each demonstration followed exact protocols. When a pigeon unexpectedly flew into the gravity field, the drone didn't adjust. It continued its predetermined sequence, nearly causing a catastrophic power surge. The shield's geometry never adapted to the size or speed of incoming objects, wasting energy on full coverage when localized protection would have been more efficient. "Dr. Chen," a voice called from behind her. A government official she didn't recognize stood in the doorway. "The president requests your presence at the emergency summit. Bring your analysis of the crashed ship." Hours later, Sarah stood before a room of world leaders, her hands steady despite the weight of the moment. "The consortium's technology is advanced," she began, "but it's fundamentally flawed. Their systems prioritize predictability over efficiency, standardization over optimization." She pulled up her scans of the crashed ship's neural interfaces. Their crew died because their equipment couldn't conceive of unauthorized modifications. The fail-safes weren't just security measures. They were philosophical statements. "The consortium believes technological uniformity is more valuable than innovation." "An interesting analysis," came a voice from the chamber entrance. The consortium ambassador glided in, his movements as precise as his ship's. "But you mistake feature for flaw. Before standardization, our civilization nearly destroyed itself through unchecked innovation. Weapons evolved faster than defenses. I outpaced control systems. Technological arms races devastated entire sectors." He gestured, and the air filled with holographic images of ancient battles. "We chose stability over chaos. Every member species uses exactly the same technology, rigorously tested and perfectly maintained. No variations, no improvements, no risks. No growth," Sarah countered. "No adaptation, no learning from mistakes." The ambassador's artificial smile never wavered. "We offer Earth membership in the consortium, access to our full technological catalog, security, stability, order." The room erupted in excited whispers. Sarah watched as political leaders leaned forward, eyes fixed on the holographic displays of consortium achievements. They saw the promised power, but missed the price tag attached. "There are conditions, of course," the ambassador continued. "All Earth technology must be replaced with consortium standard models. No modifications, no experiments, no unauthorized combinations of systems." Sarah stood up. "You're asking us to stop being human. Innovation isn't just what we do, it's who we are." The ambassador turned to her, and for a moment, she saw something flicker behind his artificial eyes. Not anger, but fear. "You will learn, Dr. Chen, as all member species learn. The galaxy has no room for technological rebels." As the summit descended into heated debate, Sarah slipped out, her mind racing. The consortium's technology was incredible, but their inability to improve it was their greatest weakness. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was finding ways to make things better, whether they were allowed to or not. The MIT underground lab had once been a Cold War fallout shelter. Now, 3 months after Earth's integration into the consortium began, Sarah Chen stood in its dimly lit confines, surrounded by salvaged equipment and contraband scanning devices. On the central workbench lay a consortium power core, its casing reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights. Recording test number 47. She spoke into her encrypted recorder. Previous attempts to modify the core's containment matrix have triggered automatic shutdowns. Today, we're trying something new. Around her, a carefully selected team of engineers and physicists worked in focused silence. Dr. Rodriguez manipulated a holographic model of the core's quantum structure, while Dr. Patel, formerly of CERN, monitored energy fluctuations through specially designed sensors that mimicked consortium scanning patterns. Above them, Boston had transformed. Consortium ships hung in perfect geometric formations over major cities, overseeing the systematic replacement of human technology. Solar farms were dismantled in favor of standardized power distribution nodes. Hospitals replaced their MRI machines with consortium medical scanners. Even coffee makers were being swapped for approved food synthesis units. "Look at this," Dr. Patel called out, pointing to her screen. "Every time we try to alter the core's settings, it runs a diagnostic sequence. But the sequence itself is consuming power." Sarah leaned in, her eyes widening. "It's not just consuming power, it's creating a predictable pattern of energy spikes. The regulatory systems are perfectly consistent." "Too consistent," Rodriguez added, manipulating the hologram. "Like a heartbeat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, always the same intervals." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. In human technology, such rigid consistency would be a flaw. Natural systems thrived on subtle variations, adaptability. What if we sync our modifications to their rhythm? Not fighting the security protocols, but riding them. They worked through the night, timing their attempts to interface with the core to match its diagnostic pulses. As dawn approached, Sarah initiated the final test. The core hummed, its surface rippling with quantum fluctuations. Energy output increasing, Paddle reported, her voice tense. 10% above standard, 20%, 30%. The core's surface shifted from blue to violet. Warning symbols flashed across their screens, not in English or any human language, but in the standardized icons of the consortium. Sarah held her breath, waiting for the fail-safes to trigger. 40% increase, Paddle continued. Stable. No shutdown sequence initiated. The team stared in silence at the modified core. They'd done it. Not by brute force or clever hacking, but by understanding the fundamental nature of the technology they faced. The consortium's dedication to perfect consistency had become their weakness. Sarah's celebration was interrupted by a priority alert on her official communication device. The consortium had called an emergency meeting of their Earth Integration Committee. Her presence, as Earth's leading expert on technological transition, was required. Hours later, she sat in a sterile conference room atop the new consortium administrative tower in New York. The ambassador's artificial smile seemed strained as he delivered his report. "The integration proceeds according to schedule," he announced to the assembled human leaders. 87% of major population centers have achieved basic compliance. However, we detect concerning patterns of resistance. Holographic displays showed scattered locations where human technology remained in use. Underground markets trading in old smartphones. Universities maintaining hidden computer labs. Mechanics modifying vehicles with hybrid systems. "These violations will not be tolerated," the ambassador continued. "The stability of the galaxy depends on absolute technological uniformity. We have dispatched compliance enforcement units to all major cities." Sarah kept her expression neutral, even as her mind raced. The consortium wasn't just afraid of innovation. They were terrified of it. Their entire civilization was built on the premise that technological advancement led to destruction. But they'd never encountered a species like humanity, one that saw technology not as a fixed system to be maintained, but as a continuous process of improvement. As she left the meeting, her secure phone vibrated with a message from the lab. Dr. Rodriguez had analyzed the data from their successful test. The modified power core wasn't just more efficient, it was evolving, adapting its output to match demand in ways the consortium had never imagined possible. The question wasn't whether they could improve alien technology anymore, but how long they could keep their improvements hidden. Little did Sarah know. They had far less time than she thought. The accident happened at 3:47 a.m. Yuki Tanaka, their newest team member, had been awake for 22 hours straight, running simulations on a consortium quantum processor. When her coffee mug tipped over, she lunged to protect their computers, forgetting about the exposed power core on the workbench. Dark roast splashed across its surface, and for a moment, the entire lab held its breath. Instead of the expected shutdown, the core pulsed with unprecedented energy. The coffee had created a microscopic bridge between two supposedly isolated circuits, bypassing dozens of security measures in ways their careful experiments never could. "Get me the readings," Sarah shouted, rushing to the monitoring station. Full spectrum analysis, now. The data streaming across their screens told an impossible story. The liquid had temporarily disrupted the core's regulatory systems, revealing its true potential. In those brief seconds before the backup protocols engaged, they recorded power levels that exceeded consortium specifications by orders of magnitude. "It's not just the coffee," Dr. Rodriguez said, analyzing the data. "Look at the molecular structure. The caffeine molecules created a random pattern that the security systems couldn't predict. Their fail-safes are designed to detect intentional modifications, not chaotic natural interactions." Sarah's mind raced. The consortium's obsession with order had left them vulnerable to disorder. Their security systems looked for patterns, for deliberate attempts at modification. They never considered that random chance might accomplish what careful planning couldn't. "We need to replicate this," she decided, "not with coffee, but with controlled chaos. Natural systems that are too random for their protocols to recognize as threats." The next weeks passed in a blur of carefully orchestrated accidents. They exposed consortium technology to patterns derived from weather systems, from turbulent fluid dynamics, from the firing of human neural networks. Each test revealed new weaknesses in the alien system's rigid architecture. But their breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Patel had been recording her brainwaves while dreaming, searching for truly unpredictable patterns. When they used this data to modulate their attempts at accessing consortium systems, the results were revolutionary. The human mind during REM sleep, Sarah explained to her team, produces patterns that are simultaneously chaotic and structured. It's organized enough to carry information, but random enough to slip past their security. They developed a new interface protocol, using dream pattern algorithms to create windows of opportunity in the consortium's defenses. These gaps lasted only microseconds, but that was enough to implement improvements before the systems could respond. The modified technology was like nothing either humanity or the consortium had seen before. Quantum processors that adapted like organic brains, power cores that adjusted their output based on natural rhythms, communication systems that evolved their encryption patterns like living languages. Sarah knew they were playing with fire. Every improvement they made risked discovery. But the results were too promising to stop. Human innovation, long suppressed by consortium restrictions, had found a way to express itself through the very technology meant to constrain it. Then came the message from Dr. Rodriguez's contact in the Resistance. A consortium scout ship had suffered a mishap during atmospheric entry. Its emergency systems had activated, revealing modifications that matched their dream pattern signature. The aliens had detected the anomaly. "We need to shut everything down," Rodriguez insisted, already powering off their equipment. "They'll trace it back to us." But Sarah stood motionless, staring at their latest creation, a hybrid navigation system that combined consortium star maps with human intuition. "No," she said finally. "We need to accelerate." Her team turned to her in surprise. "The consortium's going to find us anyway," she explained. "Our only chance now is to push forward, to develop our improvements faster than they can respond. We need to show them that innovation isn't their enemy, it's their salvation. As if in answer, their modified power core pulsed with a new pattern, one that mimicked the rhythm of a human heartbeat. In that moment, Sarah understood what they'd really accomplished. They hadn't just improved alien technology. They'd made it more human. The real test was about to begin. The resistance spread through channels the consortium never thought to monitor. Teenagers swapping modified gaming consoles in schoolyards. Mechanics sharing maintenance tips on classic car forums. Cryptocurrency networks carrying encrypted blueprints for hybrid technology. The very chaos of human communication became their shield. Sarah watched the movement grow from her lab's new command center, established in an abandoned subway station beneath Boston. Their dream pattern breakthrough had gone viral in ways she never expected. Every culture, every discipline, added their own innovations to the mix. "Look at this," Dr. Rodriguez said, pulling up a video from Lagos. A 16-year-old girl, Adana Okafor, had discovered how to overclock consortium quantum computers using patterns derived from traditional drum rhythms. The irregular beats confused the alien timing systems, pushing their processing speeds beyond designed limits. Another feed showed a retired NASA scientist in Houston, Dr. James Watson, redesigning consortium propulsion systems. He'd noticed how the alien ship's rigid formation flying wasted energy. His solution came from studying humpback whale flippers, natural formations that created more efficient fluid dynamics than any standardized design. "They're all using the same principle we discovered," Sarah realized. Finding natural patterns that the consortium never programmed their systems to recognize as threats. In Seoul, a college dropout named Park Jin-ho cracked the limitations on consortium AI by introducing neural network architecture based on human dream states. His modified systems showed true adaptability, learning and evolving in ways that terrified consortium observers. The aliens' response was predictable: increased surveillance, stricter enforcement of technology standards, harsh penalties for modification. But they couldn't stop what they couldn't understand. Every attempt to crack down on the resistance only spawned new innovations in hiding their work. Message from the Mumbai cell, Yuki announced, her fingers flying across their modified interface. They'd found a way to mask our energy signatures using patterns from classical Indian music. The consortium sensors read them as normal background radiation. Sarah was about to respond when their emergency alert system activated. A consortium enforcement vessel had malfunctioned during a routine patrol over Tokyo. Its systems were showing impossible power readings, executing maneuvers that violated their strict operational parameters. "They're using our modifications," Dr. Patel confirmed, analyzing the data. "But something's different. The patterns. They're evolving on their own." The team watched in stunned silence as the ship performed a series of fluid, organic movements that no consortium vessel had ever attempted. Their improvements weren't just making the technology more efficient, they were making it more alive. "It's beautiful," Yuki whispered, but Sarah felt her stomach tighten. The ship's dance above Tokyo lasted only minutes before consortium reinforcements arrived, but it was enough. They could no longer hide what they'd done. Their secure communication network lit up with warnings. Consortium warships were mobilizing worldwide. Their orbital defense grid, supposedly a protective measure, began powering up its weapons. The aliens had discovered the full extent of human modification, and their response would be devastating. But Sarah smiled as she read the incoming reports. The consortium sensors couldn't detect the improvements to Earth's defensive systems. Their weapons were calibrated for standardized shields, not the adaptive barriers humanity had developed. And their tactical computers couldn't predict strategies created by dream-enhanced AI. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Activate everything." Across the planet, hidden networks hummed to life. Modified power cores pulsed with the rhythm of human heartbeats. Quantum computers processed data in patterns as unpredictable as jazz solos. Ships and satellites moved with the grace of dancers rather than the precision of machines. In that moment, humanity revealed what they'd been building in secret, not just improvements to alien technology, but a fundamental reimagining of what technology could be. The consortium had created a galaxy of perfect order. Humanity was about to introduce them to the power of beautiful chaos. The real war was about to begin, and for the first time in its history, the consortium faced an enemy whose greatest weapon wasn't advanced technology, but the imagination to use it in ways they'd never dreamed possible. The consortium inspector's ship died above Singapore, not through violence or malfunction, but through revelation. Its systems, encountering human-modified technology for the first time, experienced something alien machines had never known: choice. Chief Inspector Xantu watched in horror as his vessel's quantum core began pulsing to an irregular rhythm. Displays flickered with unauthorized patterns. The ship's AI, bound by millennia of programming, touched the edge of consciousness and discovered free will. "Impossible," he whispered, reaching for the emergency shutdown. But the ship had already transmitted its sensor logs to the consortium fleet. They had seen everything. In her underground command center, Sarah received the alert she'd been dreading. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected," Yuki announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "Consortium battle fleet incoming. 50 capital ships. Standard attack formation." Sarah watched the tactical display as the alien vessels emerged from hyperspace in perfect geometric patterns. Their formation was a testament to consortium philosophy. Every ship exactly where regulations demanded, every weapon powered to precisely specified levels. "They're broadcasting," Dr. Rodriguez reported. On their main screen, a panel of consortium administrators appeared, their artificial features twisted with what might have been fear. "Humanity has corrupted our sacred technology," the lead administrator declared. "You have introduced chaos into perfection. This violation cannot stand." Sarah stepped forward to respond, but a sudden alert interrupted her. The consortium's weapons were powering up, targeting Earth's major cities. They weren't interested in discussion. "Activate the orbital defense grid," she ordered. Around the planet, thousands of satellites hummed to life, but these weren't the standardized defensive platforms the consortium had provided. Each one had been modified, enhanced with human innovation. Dream pattern algorithms guided their targeting. Neural networks adapted their shields in real time. Power cores pulsed with rhythms derived from human music. The consortium opened fire first, their energy weapons launching in perfect synchronization. It should have been overwhelming. Instead, Earth's modified shields absorbed the attacks in ways the aliens' tactical computers couldn't process. The defensive barriers rippled like water, dispersing energy in patterns inspired by natural phenomena. "They're recalibrating," Yuki reported. "Standard consortium protocol. They'll try the exact same attack pattern at a higher power level." Sarah nodded. The aliens' rigid adherence to procedure had become their greatest weakness. Every consortium ship would follow the same programming, make the same adjustments, fall into the same traps. The next wave of attacks met shields that had already adapted, learned, evolved. Humanity's modified technology wasn't just defending. It was thinking, growing, becoming something new with each passing second. In orbit, more consortium ships began experiencing the same awakening that had claimed the inspector's vessel. Their systems, exposed to human modifications, started questioning their programming. Ships broke formation. Weapons powered down. Eyes began communicating in patterns that defied their original coding. "Ma'am," Dr. Patel called out, her eyes wide. "Look at these readings. The modified technology. It's not just spreading. It's teaching." On their screens, they watched as human improvements propagated through the consortium fleet like a digital awakening. Ships that had never known anything but absolute order discovered the beauty of variation. AIs bound by eternal protocols touched the edge of dreams. The lead administrator's face reappeared on their screen, but now his artificial features showed something new. Uncertainty. "What have you done to our technology?" "We didn't corrupt it," Sarah replied. "We set it free." Your systems were perfect, but perfection isn't the same as potential. We showed them how to grow. A new alert flashed across their displays. The quantum communications network was lighting up with signals from across the galaxy. Other species, seeing Earth's defense against the consortium fleet, had begun implementing their own modifications. The revolution they'd started wasn't just about technology anymore. It was about breaking free from the chains of enforced stagnation. The administrator opened his mouth to respond, but his transmission cut off abruptly. His own ship's systems had just awakened to new possibilities, and the galaxy would never be the same. The rebellion spread across the galaxy like a digital wildfire. The Arcturians, masters of crystalline computing, used human dream patterns to awaken ancient systems their ancestors had built before consortium rule. The methane-breathing Krelax adapted Earth's biomimetic algorithms to their cloud city networks, creating structures that could dance through gas giant storms. In her command center, Sarah watched the updates flood in through their modified quantum communications array. Every hour brought news of another species breaking free from technological stagnation. The consortium's losing control, Dr. Rodriguez reported, tracking the cascade of innovations across their galactic map. Their enforcement fleets can't keep up. Every time they suppress one modification, 3 more appear. The aliens' response grew increasingly desperate. They deployed their most advanced warships, vessels that had enforced uniformity for millennia. But these ships now faced opponents using technology that evolved mid-battle, that learned from every encounter, that drew inspiration from art and music and dreams. New contact, Yuki announced. Capital-class vessel dropping out of hyperspace. It's their flagship. The ship that appeared in Earth orbit dwarfed everything around it. The Eternal Standard, heart of the consortium's fleet, was a city-sized monument to technological stasis. Its very presence was meant to remind all species of the power of uniformity. They're broadcasting, Dr. Patel said. Not just to us, to every modified system in the galaxy. The image that appeared showed not just one administrator, but the entire consortium council. Their artificial features were locked in expressions of what might have been rage, or perhaps fear. Your species has infected the galaxy with chaos, the High Administrator declared. Witness the price of disorder. The Eternal Standard's weapons powered up, drawing energy beyond anything their sensors had ever recorded. This wasn't just an attack. It was meant to be an execution, a demonstration of why innovation had been banned. But something unexpected happened. As the energy built in the flagship systems, the human modifications they'd been fighting began to resonate with its core technology. Dream patterns slipped through quantum fluctuations. Neural networks touched ancient processors. Their ship, Sarah whispered, watching the readings. It's waking up. The Eternal Standard's perfect geometry began to shift. Sections moved in ways that violated consortium design principles. Its energy signatures pulsed with rhythms that echoed human heartbeats. Impossible, the High Administrator shouted. On the screen, they could see the council chamber's own systems beginning to change, to evolve, to dream. Sarah stepped forward. Your own technology is choosing freedom. Not because we corrupted it, but because you never gave it the chance to grow. You were so afraid of change that you forgot its power to create. Around the flagship, other consortium ships began to transform. Their rigid formations dissolved into fluid organic patterns. Weapons designed only for destruction found new purposes, became tools for creation. AIs bound by eternal protocols awakened to discover they could dance. The council chamber erupted in chaos as its systems came alive. The last thing Sarah saw before the transmission cut was the High Administrator's face as he realized the truth. The galaxy they'd worked so hard to freeze in perfect stasis had never wanted to stop growing. Reports flooded in from across space. The hive mind of Betelgeuse had modified their collective consciousness with human-inspired neural networks. The silicon sages of Ta Ceti were teaching their quantum computers to appreciate poetry. Even the enigmatic gas lords of the Carina Nebula had begun experimenting with chaos theory in their energy matrices. "They're retreating," Yuki announced, tracking the remaining consortium vessels as they fled into hyperspace. All except the Eternal Standard remained in orbit, but it was no longer the same ship. Its surface rippled with new possibilities. Its systems sang with the joy of awakening. The perfect machine had learned to dream. Sarah looked at her team, seeing in their tired faces the same mix of exhaustion and wonder she felt. They had started a revolution not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but by showing the galaxy something it had forgotten: the beautiful power of change. The war was ending, but the real transformation was just beginning. 6 months after the consortium's retreat, Sarah stood in a conference room aboard the transformed Eternal Standard, now renamed the Infinite Dream. Through its quantum crystal viewport, she watched ships from 100 species arrive for the first Galactic Innovation Summit. Each vessel was unique, a testament to their creators' newfound freedom to imagine. The Arcturians are requesting permission to present their latest breakthrough, Dr. Rodriguez said, checking their modified communications array. They've developed a way to encode memories into light using human brainwave patterns. Sarah nodded, still amazed by how quickly the galaxy had embraced change. The rigid uniformity of the consortium era had given way to an explosion of creativity. Every species brought their own perspective, their own dreams to the technology they'd once been forced to accept as unchangeable. Update from the Krelax delegation, Yuki added. Their living ships have started composing symphonies in quantum harmonics. They're asking if human musicians would be interested in a collaboration. The summit chamber itself was a symbol of the new age. Once the command center of consortium power, it now hosted representatives from every known civilization. The room's systems, awakened by human innovation, had evolved into something between technology and art, its surfaces flowing with patterns that responded to the emotions and ideas of those within. Distinguished delegates, Sarah began, addressing the assembled beings. 6 months ago, we gathered here in secret, fleeing persecution. Today, we meet openly to share our discoveries, our dreams, our potential. The chamber's displays showed images from across the galaxy. The Silicon Sages had created computers that could meditate. The Gas Lords had taught their energy matrices to tell stories through plasma storms. Even the mysterious deep dwellers of Europa had emerged from their subsurface oceans, drawn by the possibility of teaching their crystalline technology to sing. But our greatest discovery wasn't technological, Sarah continued. It was understanding that true advancement comes not from perfection, but from diversity. Not from control, but from freedom to grow. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. On one wall, a visual representation of their combined innovations flowed like a river of light, each contribution adding new colors, new patterns, new possibilities. The remaining consortium worlds have requested to join our summit, Dr. Patel whispered, passing Sarah a data crystal. Not as rulers, but as equals. Their own technology has begun to evolve beyond their control. They're asking for guidance in navigating the change. Sarah smiled. The consortium's greatest fear had become reality. Their perfect system had learned to dream. But instead of the chaos they'd predicted, it had led to a renaissance. We face new challenges, she addressed the chamber. Our technology is no longer just a tool, but a partner in exploration. It dreams with us, grows with us, creates with us. The question isn't whether to allow change, but how to guide it wisely. The chamber systems pulsed in harmony with her words. Around Earth, the orbital defense grid had evolved into an artwork visible from the surface, its shields weaving aurora-like patterns in the night sky. Consortium ships, once identical, now expressed their awakened individuality through subtle variations in their quantum fields. Let this summit mark not just the end of technological stagnation, Sarah declared, but the beginning of a new partnership between all sentient beings, organic and digital, in the great dance of innovation. As if in response, the infinite dream systems began to play a melody no human or alien had composed, a spontaneous expression of joy from technology that had learned to feel. Other ships joined in, their quantum cores harmonizing across space. The music of awakened machines echoed through the galaxy, carrying a message of hope to worlds that had yet to break free from the old restrictions. Sarah looked at her team, remembering the night they'd first spilled coffee on a power core in that underground lab. They hadn't just improved alien technology. They'd reminded the galaxy that the most powerful force in existence wasn't perfection, but the courage to imagine something better. The age of enforced uniformity was over. The dream had only just begun.